Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Mark, a trainer here with WEX Field Service Management, and today we are covering onboarding, getting ready to make the switch. This webinar will cover a make the switch recap. We'll go through a make the switch checklist in the Help Center to make sure you're on track for make the switch day, how to finalize your account setup, give you some daily to-dos to look out for, what to do after you make the switch, and then a little on QuickBooks Sync as it relates to onboarding and making the switch. We'll do our live Q&A at the end where you'll be able to get your questions answered live on stream. And our very first topic is just a review of what make the switch is. That is the term that we use for the day you will stop entering customers' invoices and payments in your previous software and start entering those items into WEX FSM exclusively. This acts as a nice clean cutoff date for your data. So when we do our supplemental data load and transfer the rest of that data over, you now have a full system of record, and we knew when that cutoff day was from you using your previous software. At this point, you should already know what your make the switch day is, and we are going to go through a checklist together just to make sure that you have everything set up in your system before you do make the switch. If for any reason you need to push your date back, you can always contact customer care. And even if you determine on the day of make the switch, that you would like to push your make the switch date back, there's a pop-up that will show up. We'll look at that together and you can push the date back then. But hopefully you are prepared and ready, and especially after today's presentation, you'll know what final things to take care of before making the switch at your proposed time. Now, just to look at the overall timeline of onboarding, you at this point would have already signed up and submitted your initial data. The initial data load is most likely complete. So now the bulk of your data as it relates to customers, invoices, and payments are in your system. You should see that in your system. And you have completed your account setup and training. If there are still a couple things left to do, that is fine. But we, at this point, if you're ready to make the switch, will have already done that account setup and training, or you're just finishing it up. On Make the Switch Day, you will receive a pop-up that will allow you to submit your data again. That will be your second data load, which will take everything from the initial load to the make the switch date and pull the rest of that data over. Once you have the supplemental data load complete, the data team will send you a message in your system letting them know, or letting you know, that your subload is complete. All of your data is now in your system. And at that point, the sync will be turned on. Now, for syncing to QuickBooks, just know when you make the switch. So, you wake up in the morning, you go into work, it's make the switch day. We're going to start using WEX FSM as our main software. Throughout the day, and really probably throughout that whole week, you're going to be entering customers' invoices and payments into your system. But the sync will not be turned on just yet. So just know there'll probably be a couple days in the beginning here where you will not see that info in your QuickBooks. Then, when the sync is turned on, that supplemental data load is complete, that info will sync over, and you will see that in your QuickBooks. So, preparing to make the switch, you will want to make sure that you finish your Help Center tasks, which we'll look at together. Ensure all your users are added. Anyone you want to use the system needs to have credentials so they can log in and use WEX FSM. Is your mobile app downloaded for everyone who is going to use the mobile app? Any features that you want to use, you're going to want to get those set up. Price book, maintenance plans, And then do you have your first week of appointments scheduled? So on Make the Switch Day, you already have your appointments in. So now on the first day, your technicians will actually have appointments on their schedule. You got to know where to contact customer care if you have questions, and then know how to submit your supplemental data load, which we will look at as well. All right. So next, let's go ahead and dive into WEX FSM and take a look at a few things. So let's go to here. Okay. And we're going to start on the schedule page. And just some resources to begin. If you are still in the beginning onboarding stage, even if you're ready to make the switch, it is always good to double check the Getting Started article. So you just hover over the Getting Started button here, click on this article, and that will take you to the Getting Started article. A lot of the things we are going to cover today is in here, and this is a great resource just to look at while you're in onboarding to answer any questions you may have about that process. When you are on here, if you scroll down, preparing to make the switch. So on the Getting Started article, there's a link to a Make the Switch article. And that is another reference point that breaks down what Make the Switch is. And you can use this for reference as well. But our question now is, am I ready? Am I ready to make the switch? Have I done all the things that I need to do to prepare? And if you go to the Help Center down in the bottom right, this little smiley face guy, you would have already been working on your tasks. And this is the main training that you are using in onboarding. So this may be a recap, and I am just going to go through these just to make sure we're looking at these together. If you are syncing to QuickBooks, you will have a QuickBooks Sync training. And if you are QuickBooks Desktop, you will get a QuickBooks Desktop learning activity here. If you're QuickBooks Online, this will be a QuickBooks Online learning activity. Tip for anyone syncing to QuickBooks Desktop, you do need to make sure that the sync tool is installed before you make the switch. So, if you're at the Getting Ready to Make the Switch webinar, most likely you have already done this. But if not, this is very important to do. So for QuickBooks Desktop, it does require the sync tool. If you have not scheduled that yet, you can click the link here and schedule that. But hopefully that has already been done. Scrolling down, we also, if you have any questions on what sync is, how it works, this is where you would be able to check those things. And then the accounting and taxes page, it's important to go and take a look at that. Now, the Help Center is nice because it will link you out to pages for you to look at. But if you wanted to get here through the navigation, you can go to Settings, Accounting and Taxes. And then from here, you can see the two-way sync items pulled from your QuickBooks. And it's just good to make sure that what has been pulled is good for you. So you can check those here. Make sure your tax settings are set to your preferences, and then you'll see your tax groups pulled in from QuickBooks down below here. And then making the switch. So let's go back. Tasks and making the switch. So when do I stop using my old software? That would be on your Make the Switch day. Double check your user settings. So this is just reminding you to check your admin and user settings. If I hit check it out, there's an article that you can read, and this goes through just reviewing user settings, business details, pricing strategies, job types, and contract terms. If you have not gone to these pages, I highly recommend that you do and take a look and just make sure these are customized to your liking. If you are going to use card readers out in the field, you need to order the card readers and make sure those are coming in. You can order card readers from here. If you're not using the card readers, that's fine. You don't have to order them. Did you download the app? So does everyone have access to the WEX FSM mobile app? And if you want training, you can send your team to one of our mobile app live webinars, or you can just play the replay for them. Transfer your appointments. So on the schedule page, on make the switch day and, at least a couple days moving forward, it is good to come in and build out what those appointments are going to be. Now, appointments are not something that transfers in a data transfer. So if you have, let's say, the next month of appointments set up in a previous software, there's no way to port those over into the WEX FSM system. So it is something that you would do manually, but it's a good practice to make sure that at least the first couple days, if not the first week, is already built out with appointments. And then review data and additional load. So at this point, your initial data load should be complete or, getting ready to be complete. And it's always good to review the things in this article. So go in, just spot check a couple customers. Okay, looks like my customer list made it in good. Look at some of your invoices, look at some of your payments, and just go to these pages here, customer list, invoice list, payment list, and just ensure everything is accurate. And this article gives you a little context on the supplemental data load and how that process works. Also, it teaches you if you want to add more data. Let's say that you have a customer list in an Excel file that's not in your QuickBooks or not in your previous software, and you want to add that information to, you can do that by going to More Applications, Data Center, and then there's an option for you to submit more data to the data team to load into your system. Oh, yes. So we are in. Great question. So Diane asks, where are you finding this info? So when you are logged in, let me go just refresh here. So when you are in your system, you're logged in, it brings you to the schedule page. And the place that we're going to is the training in the help center. So this is the little smiley face guy here. And if you click on tasks in the bottom right, this is the main training in your system. And we were in the making the switch module. So tasks in the help center, making the switch. And then I believe so each of these little sections have a button here. And when you click on that button, sometimes it will take you to another article. And I believe we were just looking here, review data. Click on that. And that brings me to here. Let me know if that answered your question. Really, are you able to find this as well? This is complete already. Oh, let's go. Excellent. All right, cool. And then, so that is good. So that's make the switch. So as long as you have gone through and have looked at and taken some action on these things, then you should be ready to make the switch from this module. Initial setup. Let's take a look at this. So, the question here is, have you added your users into your system? Have you set up your dispatch groups? Have you reviewed your admin settings pages? I do recommend that you click out to all of these to make sure, your business details, job types, contract terms, etc., are set up to your preferences. And then now that's done. Let's take a step back here. Daily to-dos, these are just reminders for things that we recommend you're checking daily or maybe weekly. But the job list will show you your flags in your system. So if you use the flag for follow-up feature, the job list is a great place to look at flags. Job summary report, just knowing where that is. Once you start doing jobs in your system, the job summary report is really great for showing overall health of your jobs. From here, you can see the number of appointments that have been scheduled versus completed. Are there any signed proposals on the job, and have those been converted to an invoice? So this is just a good place to see the overall health of each job. And then if you are doing estimates, proposals in your system, the proposals report is something I would monitor. That way you can see proposal statuses, you can see whether proposals are signed, they're still open, they've been presented, when that happened, and just a great place to reference your close rate, because it will track opportunities won versus opportunities lost and give you that close rate. Check your cash flow with the receivables report. This is a great place, especially after you make the switch. Once you have started entering, sending out invoices to your customers, you'll be able to see those here. And from the receivables report, you can send out mass payment reminders. So this is a page that if you are looking at how the money is coming in and who owes you money, this is a great page. I would bookmark this page. Let's go back. Fulfill your maintenance commitments. So if you are running a maintenance plan program and using the maintenance plan feature, these are the links we recommend taking a look at. These are going to show you reporting for maintenance plans. And then Sync Hub is a reminder of where to go to look at sync statuses. So in your system, when you enter customers, invoices, and payments, if you're syncing to QuickBooks, those are going to sync over to your QuickBooks. But if the sync doesn't happen properly, there may be a sync error. And, that shouldn't happen, but in software it does. Sometimes there's information that's missing. And each of these pages will show you the sync statuses. So these are good pages to go to if you notice a sync is not happening properly. Let's say I add a customer in WEX FSM. It should have synced. So I look in QuickBooks and I see that it's not there. The first place I would go to is to the customer list and look at the auto sync status. And then it will tell you the status. If there is something preventing it, it will tell you what it wants. And that is the same for the invoice list. We can even see here, we've got a not ready. And so the invoice list is a great place to troubleshoot any of these not readies or sync errors that have happened. Just an example here, if I click on details, this is letting me know that I need to select a tax group. So I'm just going to select the tax group here and hit save. And now that's ready to go. Sometimes, if you have a technician who is inputting and doesn't select the tax group and they save the invoice, That may be a reason that that happens. If they're adding a custom line item and they don't select an income account, now the system doesn't know where to send that in QuickBooks. So that's another use case that will happen. That will cause it to be not ready. But invoice list, great place to check. Now, if you are using the help center here, which I think we had it, we were in daily. So the daily to-dos module here provides the links for you to navigate around to these pages. It's kind of like a cheat sheet, a reminder of where to go. But any of these lists, just know that you find them here under jobs, and then your invoice list, your payment list. These are just lists that are great to use. So I always like to point that out. Like if you're using the Help Center as a reminder to get to these places, that's great. But knowing where to find them on your own is good as well. So to get to the invoice list, jobs invoice list, and then jobs payment list. All right, let's go back here. And then learn the basics. Most likely at this point, you have finished this. This walks you around the site. Office basics. If you haven't watched this already, this is a really great video that shows you just the basics of Office tasks in the system. How to run a job from the field. So a video tutorial on how to use the mobile app out in the field. Payments and insights, another good training here. And then advanced learning. And this, if I click here, continue learning, that brings us to the video courses and webinars page. And this is the place where you're going to sign up for future webinars. Oh, can we go back? Yes, let's go back. To learn the basics here. Jobs invoice list. Oh, yes. So so if you want to get to the invoice list here to check your sync status of your invoices, you would go to jobs, invoice list. Wait, why are all your auto sync off? I guess I'm not sure what you mean. Auto sync off. Do you have any context around that question? Auto sync off. Let's do this. I'm gonna star this, and we'll go over this in our Q&A, and then we can just chat. Showing X. Uh, you can manually turn off sync if you want to. Let's save this for the Q&A. We'll come back to the invoice list. So I'm gonna put a little emoji on there. Oh, and we'll come back to this. Does that sound good? All right, cool. Okay. So let's go back to learn the basics. And so in learn the basics, it shows you how to get to the video courses and webinars article. So if I go to continue learning, that brings me to video courses and webinars. This is where you can see our live webinar calendars here. Our video courses. So if you are interested in getting your appointments set up, create appointments would be a good one. How to download the mobile app and use it in the field. Beginner would be great for that. The advanced goes through every other button you can click on the mobile app. And so these are video courses and then past webinars. So this is where you can watch the recordings. So if you wanted to rewatch today, onboarding, getting ready to make the switch is here. But if there's a session you can't make it to, let's say you really want to make sure your maintenance plans are set up, you can just watch the maintenance plans recordings from here. All right. So that is your help center tasks. That is essentially a checklist that you can use just to make sure that you're set up. Everything's set up for your QuickBooks sync to happen properly. You're ready to make the switch. You've got your initial setup, your admin settings ready to go. You know where to go to check on the things that are important to you after you've made the switch, and you have a comfortable grasp of just the basics of the system. Next, let's take a look at setting up some features. So yes, it is up to you at this point to make sure that any features you want to use are done in the system. So that is where you're actually going in, clicking on things, creating assets, things like that. So let's do a couple of those things together. We're going to look at adding your users, dispatch groups, price book, and maintenance plans where you can go to edit these things. Maybe you've already set these things up, which is great. At this point, if you're ready to make the switch, these are the things you want to have complete. But I'm just going to show you where you can go if you have not done that already. And yes, let's go. Diane is in and set up. All right, excellent. So we'll show these very briefly. We'll go to settings, user management, users, and we'll also go to dispatch groups. So I'm going to open that as well. So on users, just the question to yourself is, do I have all of my users set up? Are they the correct account type? And if they're going to be running jobs, do you have a labor cost per hour set up? So this is a pro tip. In addition to just making sure everyone has their credentials to log in and use the system, are they set up properly to make sure certain things are happening? So for this example, Dustin Bailey is a field technician. You want to make sure you're putting in your labor cost per hour here because that is going to factor into the profit and loss reporting for jobs. When Dustin goes and clocks time on the job, the system will track that and multiply his labor cost per hour times hours worked to give us the labor cost for the job. And then that's factored in to tell you your profit and loss. So if this is empty, your profit and loss reporting will not be correct. So that's one thing to make sure. If you've added all your users and they're not part of a dispatch group, then they will not show up on the schedule page. So if you want to use them on the schedule, make sure you assign them to a dispatch group. And then a couple things about permissions. If you set someone to an admin role, they will have full access to see everything and update and change everything. The office role is great for anyone who you want them to have access, but maybe you'll restrict certain things, like someone who's just doing scheduling. You don't want them to see all the revenue coming in for the job, so you could hide the revenue report. And then field, something to know about field is they do not have field users, do not have access to the desktop version. So that's great for, your field techs. They're just using the mobile app. They're getting the job done. Everything they need is in the mobile app. But if you do have someone who is an admin working out in the field, you'll still want to set them to an admin. That way they have access to both the mobile app and the desktop version. All right. So as long as you've got your user set up to your liking, you're good to go. If you go to settings, user management, dispatch groups, make sure your dispatch groups are set up so they're organized on the schedule page. If you're going to use your price book, you'll want to go to more applications, price book and really look at everything that's on here in this section to make sure that your categories are set up, your pricing defaults are determined, your warranties are added if you use warranties, and then the My Price Book page is where you'll actually build out your price book products. And then more applications. Maintenance plans is where you would set up your maintenance plan templates. So if you're going to use maintenance plans, this is where you would go to set those up. If those are already set up, incredible. If you need more work on this, just remember you can always go to the Help Center and just type in what you need help with. If I'm like, I'm building maintenance plans, type in your keyword here under the Help section, and all of our learning articles to teach you about maintenance plans are right here. Okay, so we have two more sections before we get into our Q&A. We are going to go over just the make the switch day confirmation and what that looks like, a little on your supplemental data load, and then some things we recommend doing after you make the switch. All right, so let's go to our make the switch day confirmation. Actually, I have a million tabs. Let me close some of these out. There we go. And what we want, we will find together here. So let's go back to our schedule page. Okay. So on make the switch day, let's say it's on a Monday. You show up to work, you log in to wexfsm.com. Your system will recognize, oh, today is make the switch day, and will give you a pop-up. And if you want to see what that looks like before it happens, so you can just know what it's going to be, you can go to the Help Center here, search for help, and then just type make the switch. And we're looking for the make the switch day confirmation article right here. Click on that. A pro tip, if you're using the Help Center here, all of our articles show up in this like little box. If you like to see this bigger and you want to see it as an actual web page, every single article that we have that you see here, you can go to the bottom and click Open in Help Center. That will allow you to see it as its own full web page, and you can copy the link now and send this article to other people. And that works for all of our articles. So if you're watching the article in the Help Center, it's a little too small, scroll down, click that link. Now you are on the actual web page. But you're ready to make the switch. It's make the switch day. You log in and you will see, congrats, it's your make the switch day, and you'll get a little pop-up. From there, you will click next step. At this point, you're prepped, you're ready, your team's ready, and you are going to fill this out and say, yes, let's go. Great, let's move forward. What date did you stop entering data into your old software? And that is, we're asking your make the switch day, essentially. Yesterday I was putting stuff in my previous software. Today is the official day that I'm stopping that. So you would most likely put in the day's date that it is. Excellent. Now let's do the supplemental data load. So this is where you'll be able to submit your data. Maybe that is submitting a QuickBooks backup file. Maybe that is submitting a file from another software company that you're transferring from. Whatever that is, it will ask you for that here. You will submit that, and then that will get sent to the data team. The supplemental data load, again, that is going to take everything from the initial load to your make the switch date. While you were learning the software, the new software, WEX FSM, you were still entering customers' invoices and payments into your previous software. And that is what will come over in the supplemental data load. Now, a couple reminders here. I'm reading my notes, make sure I don't miss anything. So after you make the switch, so we just went over, this is going to happen on make the switch day. Do not enter customers' invoices or payments in your previous software after you've made the switch, because we needed to load your data. So anything you add in your previous software on and moving forward from make the switch day won't sync up to WEX FSM. So it's very important. After you make the switch, you're going to be entering into WEX FSM moving forward. And then just make sure that you know if you start on make the switch day, you're entering customers' invoices and payments into your system. You are not going to see that sync over to QuickBooks until your supplemental data load is complete. All right. But once that is complete, you will get a message in your system. The sync will be turned on and you'll be able to have all of your customer data is now in WEX FSM. The sync is on. And as you enter new data into WEX FSM, that will sync down to your QuickBooks. The last thing we're going to go over is just some post make the switch day follow-ups that we would recommend you do. And the first thing is looking at unassigned payments and then merging customers. So after your data is loaded, you may have a little bit of data cleanup that needs to happen. As much as we like to organize ourselves in QuickBooks or our previous software, maybe it's not 100% organized. And so when things are loaded over, you may just put up that red flag yourself and say, you know what, this is our time to start cleaning up this data. But when we load, let's say, customers into the software, or I'm sorry, when we load payments into the software, if there's a payment that is not connected to an invoice, it'll still be loaded, but it will be loaded as an unassigned payment. And if you see an unassigned payment, you can just assign it to the right invoice, but I'm going to show you how you can do that. So let's go to our customer here, Mary Smith. And if you're on a customer page and you see this yellow bar here, this just says customer has 2 payments that are not fully applied to an invoice. So that would be something has loaded in, or your payment has loaded in, it's not connected to an invoice, and we want to connect it. So we have that record. I will click on the edit button here. And then we have the option to reassign the payment. So in the top right, we can reassign the payment. And then we are looking for, let's say, an invoice, for $100. Also, if you know the invoice number, you can type that in. But here is our $100 payment. We want it to go towards this $100 invoice. And then what we want is to say we are not taking a payment without an invoice anymore. We're just taking a payment towards this invoice here. So now we can see the original payment is 100. The total payment we're making now is 100. And all the information is the same. Check, date received. Now let's hit save. And now that payment has been applied to that invoice. If you go look at the invoice, you will see that payment has been made. This is on the customer level, so you will see that here. You can also check this in bulk by going to Jobs, Payment List. And right here, show payments not assigned to a customer. You would just click on that, and then it will show you in bulk the payments that have not been assigned to a customer. So that is one kind of after you make the switch, you want to just check in your system that the data load has happened correctly. You can come to the payment list and check here. If you're on a customer page and you happen to see that, oh, unassigned payments, you just assign the payment to the invoice that it's for. And if you don't have an invoice for it, you can just make the invoice and then apply the payment. Uh, Next is merging customers. So you may have an instance where two accounts were loaded from your previous system and you say, oh, this is actually the same account. Let's go ahead and clean up this a little bit and merge those customers. You will do this from the customers page. You'll search for the accounts you want to merge. You'll just select them both and hit merge. From here, you will be able to select which customer you want to be the master. And there's some kind of like yellow alerts here letting you know that you must perform the merge in QuickBooks first and select the same master. That way, we select the master here and hit save. It will have a one-to-one sync and know where to go in QuickBooks. So that's the pro tip from here, but something that you may want to do after your data loads are complete is just come in, make sure there's no duplicate accounts. And if there are, it's very simple. You just merge them, pick that master, make sure the merge happens in QuickBooks first. And then when you hit merge, it will merge those accounts and you'll just see them as a single account. After that, in both WEX FSM and QuickBooks. All right. And then we do have a QuickBooks Sync training, and I do recommend going to this if you want to dive deeper into your QuickBooks Sync. So you can go to the smiley face guy here and go to video courses and webinars and see our calendars here, which I believe tomorrow morning, we're actually doing that. What's today, the 23rd? And so, yep, tomorrow morning we have a QuickBooks Sync training. If you can't make it at that time, that's okay. You could just watch the replay, but that's just a good spot checker for yourself too, to make sure that you have an understanding of the QuickBooks Sync. And we also go over in a little more detail how to troubleshoot sync errors that you may see right after making the switch. Okay. That is all the information that we have for today's presentation. I hope that you learned something. We're going to go to our Q&A now, but before we do, I just want to say thank you so much for joining. My name is Mark with WEX Field Service Management, and this has been Onboarding, Getting Ready to Make the Switch.